In this video, we'll look at 10 famous child actors who ruined their careers. Edward Furlong. Edward Furlong rose to prominence when he was only 13 years old by playing the role of John Connor in the 1991 film Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Edward's career seemed to be on track for mainstream success, and during the 1990s, he starred in numerous movies such as Little Odessa and Brain Scan. Unfortunately for Edward, he would lose much of his fame during the 2000s. More and more studios decided to avoid booking the actor, and Edward was even booted from his role in the upcoming 2003 movie Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines. Edward's career fell into ruin, and it was all due to his dark secret being revealed. As far back as the late 1990s, Edward had a secret past with narcotics. By the 2000s, this had led Edward to be the subject of many negative rumors and bad press. One reporter in an interview from 2000 asked Edward if the rumors he vomited in a bar were true, to which he replied, "I've never puked at a bar. I've been so drunk I felt like I was spinning, but that's about it." While Edward might not have been worried about his drinking, his friends and movie directors were very concerned. "My friends were saying, 'Eddie, you're drinking too much,'" Edward revealed in an interview with US Weekly. "You've got to slow down." In the end, Edward's friends convinced him to visit rehab, and things seemed to get better for the actor's prospects. When asked if he had any other addictions, Edward emphatically said no. "I never did heroin," Edward stated when questioned. "If I did, I would say so." Even though Edward denied using any illegal narcotics in the early 2000s, it would turn out to be true in a truly shocking way. Edward married Rachel Bella, a fellow actor, and together they had a child in 2006. While things seemed to go good at first, the relationship soured and they divorced in 2009. Although Rachel cited irreconcilable differences as the reason for separating, she would soon add a restraining order against Edward when he allegedly attacked her in September of that same year. Edward would violate that restraining order in 2010 and was given 3 years of probation as a result. During his time on probation, Edward retained limited visitation of their son. This ended in 2012, though, when Rachel reported their son had tested positive for cocaine in his bloodstream. Although Edward's substance abuse was now revealed to the world and he lost visitation rights with his son, the former child actor still had his freedom in 2012. That would change, however, when he was arrested for domestic violence in October 2012. The charge came after Edward allegedly got into an altercation with his new girlfriend, Monica Keena. Edward's violence issues would continue to plague him for the next few years, and he was arrested for domestic violence again a month later in November. A few months after that, in January 2013, Edward was locked up for battery against his girlfriend. Shortly after this arrest, Edward's girlfriend Monica dumped him while he was still in jail. Edward responded by attacking her after he got out in March 2013, which led to yet another arrest and a protective order banning the former child actor from going anywhere near his ex-girlfriend. Edward narrowly avoided prison time for his latest crime, but had to agree to 5 years of probation, drug rehab, and domestic violence counseling. Incredibly, the rehab worked this time, and Edward committed to changing his life around in 2013. In speaking about his experiences in a 2021 interview, Edward said, "I was genuinely scared of going sober because I didn't want to face who I'd be without all those drugs. I carried who I was with them, and without them, I didn't know what would be left." Be sure to stick to the end to see the former female child actress who is embarrassed by the absurd reason she destroyed her career. If you thought that Furlong story was crazy, wait till you hear this next one. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more interesting actor videos. Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore was born into a prestigious acting family, and from a very young age, she was already in the spotlight as a famous child actor. With the renowned Steven Spielberg as her godfather, Drew was able to land a role in the iconic film E.T., and she later starred in other movies such as Poison Ivy and Bad Girls. Drew was a natural, and many people in Hollywood believed her to be one of the most talented actresses of her generation. It wouldn't last, though, and before long, Drew would ruin her career so badly she was laughed out of audition rooms. At the same time her acting career was taking off, Drew's mother, Jade, began bringing her to raucous Hollywood parties when she was only 9 years old. Naturally, Jade's questionable parenting style led Drew to develop problems with alcohol and other forms of substance abuse. By the time Drew was 13 years old, she had already been placed in rehab multiple times. Things got so bad for Drew that she even attempted to take her own life at age 14. However, she would eventually recover and write an autobiography called Little Girl Lost in 1991. In the book, Drew shared her difficult childhood and shared words of encouragement with other young actors going through their own challenges. Drew turned sober and was even allowed to live on her own by age 15. Although Drew had healed her wounds through several months of rehab and reflection, the wounds to her reputation were much more difficult to mend. Following those few troubled years, Drew was eager to return to the world of acting with some big roles. Although the many directors and executives she auditioned for admired her skill, they all rejected Drew one by one. According to Drew, one particularly cruel casting director mocked her before denying her the role. "I can't believe you had the guts to waltz into this audition," the director said. "Little Miss Drug Addict, as if we're gonna give you this part." Although the entire industry had closed its doors to Drew, she refused to give up on acting. Instead of throwing in the towel, she continued to audition for any roles that she could find. "I swore to everyone who told me to kick rocks," Drew said in an interview, "someday you'll have to take me." Although it took a few years, Drew's persistence finally paid off. In the 1992 film Poison Ivy, Drew exploded back into the mainstream recognition with a more rebellious and mature persona. Drew was also praised for her acting in the 1992 movie Gun Crazy, and before she knew it, the offers for movie roles were flooding back in. "I showed those stuffed shirts that I could pull it off," Drew told a reporter. "Winning is the best payback in the world, and now I'm back." Drew's new reputation as a bad girl was popular, but before long she would take things too far and damage her career a second time. In 1995, Drew made the baffling decision to pose for an edition of Playboy magazine when she was only 19 years old. The release of her photos caused an uproar from the public, but the most surprising reaction came from her godfather, Steven Spielberg. After he heard about the magazine, the famous director sent Drew a quilt with the note inside saying, "Cover yourself up." The gift also came with copies of the Playboy magazine starring Drew, with each of her pictures edited to show her fully clothed. In the end, Drew took her godfather's advice and cleaned up her act. Drew's acting career recovered yet again, but one can only wonder how much further she might have gotten if it weren't for a few poor decisions. Lindsay Lohan. By the beginning of the 2000s, Lindsay Lohan was famous for starring in hit films like The Parent Trap and Mean Girls. But by the end of the 2000s, her fame had turned into notoriety after a series of public scandals. During the filming of the 2007 film Georgia Rule, producers struggled with Lindsay frequently showing up on set late and being exhausted when she finally did arrive. While Lindsay's handlers claimed this was due to overheating, the producers suspected something else was the culprit. Lindsay was irresponsible and unprofessional, studio executive James Robinson claimed, and she would often arrive late on set, and sometimes she didn't arrive at all. James continued, "Let's be real. We know that your habitual all-night parties are the real reason for your supposed exhaustion." Following Lindsay's public shaming from the producers behind Georgia Rule, she found difficulty landing acting work. The few movies Lindsay did land in 2007 bombed, such as the thriller I Know Who Killed Me, with Lindsay being checked into rehab in May 2007. She simply couldn't return to the big screen without first getting out of the tabloid magazines. After her struggles with partying and substance abuse, Lindsay has turned her life around in the past few years. Lindsay left rehab for the final time in 2020, and in 2022 she landed her first major movie role in more than a decade. Lindsay's life was filled with scandal and controversy in the past, but she remains determined to stay on the straight and narrow path this time around. "I'm proud of her," Lindsay's mother said after she checked out of rehab. Lindsay is finally moving forward with her life. Although her acting career was irreparably damaged by past mistakes, Lindsay might be able to return to the spotlight if she plays her cards right. Jeremy Jackson. Jeremy Jackson rose to prominence due to a key role in Baywatch in the 1990s, and he released a line of popular music albums during that time as well. During the 2000s, Jeremy would release something else, though, and it created an eruption of public anger and surprise. In 2008, a tape between Jeremy and actress Skye Lopez was leaked to the public. Jeremy claimed Skye's agents threatened him until he agreed to hand over the tape to the actress, but she ended up offering the tape to the highest bidder once she had it. Jeremy's public persona was further damaged by scandals related to substance abuse, but the worst crime would come in 2015. In October of that year, Jeremy made an attempted carjacking that went terribly wrong. The couple Jeremy tried to steal the car from fought back, and in the commotion, Jeremy stabbed the girl. Jeremy ended up with a 9-month jail sentence. Jeremy might be out of prison today, but his acting career seems to be over for good. Brian Bosnell. Brian Bosnell was a famous child actor from the NBC show Family Ties, as well as playing a character on Star Trek. Brian's career peaked in the 1990s, but he decided to step away from acting in 1995. While Brian hoped to lead a normal life afterward, he would fall into legal trouble many times throughout the 2000s. Brian was arrested in March 2007 for hitting his girlfriend with a stool and ended up with 2 years of probation as a result. Brian would be arrested for the same crime again when he failed to show up at a court-ordered hearing regarding suspected probation violations. A year after that, Brian was arrested yet again for marijuana possession. Brian managed to walk away with nothing more than probation, but following the 2010 arrest, he managed to finally clean up his act. Since then, Brian joined the rock bands The Ataris and Sunset Silhouette and started a family with Courtney Tuck. My drunken problems with the law are a decade behind me, and I'm happy that's the case, Brian said in an interview. I'm not proud of what I did, but you live and learn. Jamie Foxworth. Jamie Foxworth rose to prominence for her role on the hit sitcom Family Matters. Although Jamie played a pivotal role as the character Judy Winslow throughout the show, she would gradually lose airtime to the much more popular Steve Urkel, played by Jaleel White. Eventually, this led to Jamie being cut from the show altogether, without any explanation. Following her dismissal, Jamie struggled to find more acting work. As a result, she turned to an unexpected industry to find work. With her efforts to land acting roles in Hollywood unsuccessful, Jamie chose to become an actor instead. With the nickname Crave, she worked in the industry from 2000 to 2002. At the same time, Jamie struggled with depression and substance abuse. In a 2006 interview, Jamie would cite her time as an adult film actor as the trigger for leading her down a dark path. It was easy money to me, Jamie said, and I was gullible and also drinking. Jamie then spoke of the consequences of her adult film work. I simply couldn't hold my head high anymore, she said. I couldn't say I'm Jamie Foxworth without someone saying, ew, or we've heard about what you do. That's the most humiliating part, and I lost all my confidence due to it. Following that interview, Jamie resolved to rehabilitate her image and live an upright life. She went to rehab for substance abuse and gave birth to a son in 2009. While Jamie might have avoided the controversy of her past, there's no denying her acting career is gone for good. Jamie's fame was so dimmed that in 2017, the producers for Family Matters even forgot to invite her to a reunion event. Adam Rich. Adam Rich became the most famous boy in America when he starred in the TV series 8 is Enough, and the public even took to calling him America's little brother. While Adam grew up rich and famous, there was a dark side that would come out over the next few years. During his teenage years, Adam started experimenting with narcotics in secret. This started with marijuana at the age of 14, but Adam soon moved on to harder substances like Valium. Adam's substance abuse soon led to an addiction, and he dropped out of high school in 1986 as a result. 3 years later, in 1989, Adam would suffer an overdose of Valium so severe that it nearly cost him his life. Adam wouldn't clean up his act after this, though, and continued to abuse narcotics frequently. When he struggled to find the money to pay for Valium, Adam chose to rob a pharmacy to get more. This led to Adam's arrest, and he would get 5 years of probation in the end. Adam would seemingly fix his act for the next few years, But in 2002, he would be arrested again with a DUI charge. Adam has since turned his life around, though it took 3 separate trips to rehab for sobriety to finally stick. Although he's no longer struggling with drugs, Adam's acting career is stagnant and will likely remain so for the foreseeable future. Jamie Lynn Spears. Jamie Spears is the much less famous sister of Britney Spears, and you might be surprised to know exactly why so few people know about her. Although both girls got into acting at very young ages, Jamie and Britney's lives would go down very different paths. Jamie starred in Zoey 101, a Nickelodeon sitcom directed to teenagers, but everything would change in 2007. That year, Jamie made an announcement that would ruin her acting career permanently. In 2007, Jamie publicly announced that she was pregnant and keeping the baby. The media was stunned that Jamie would be having a child when she was just 16 years old. The Nickelodeon executives were unwilling to explain their lead actor being pregnant on the show. As a result, the TV producers decided to wrap up Zoey 101 quickly. After the show's conclusion, Jamie retired from acting and music for 5 years to focus on raising her newborn daughter. During that time, Jamie fell out of the public eye completely. Jamie's acting career would never fully recover from her hiatus, though in recent years, Jamie has returned to acting. Jamie played a role in the Netflix special Sweet Magnolias, and she's slowly but surely returning to the Hollywood mainstream. Regardless of whether Jamie regains her glory days or not, she's certain she made the right choice. My baby is 14 now, and I'm so grateful for each day I get to be her mom, Jamie shared on social media in 2002. She's been my saving grace, and I couldn't be prouder of her. Jake Lloyd. Jake Lloyd enjoyed a massive surge in name recognition in the early 2000s when he played the role of a young Anakin Skywalker in the hit film Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Jake received numerous awards for his performance and gained many movie offers. Surprisingly, Jake decided not to take them though, and instead he retired from acting in 2001. Jake wouldn't return to the media until over a decade later, and it wasn't for a good reason at all. Jake regained media attention in March 2015 when he allegedly assaulted his mother at her house. Although Jake had acted quite violently, his mother chose not to press charges because of her son's schizophrenia. Jake had suffered with the condition for many years and had recently stopped taking medications for the mental illness. Jake's untreated condition led to another arrest in June 2015 for reckless driving, when he drove a car without a license and used a fake name when apprehended by law enforcement. Since his 2015 arrest, Jake has spent time in both prison and a psychiatric facility. As of 2020, Jake currently resides with his family. Jake is still a kind person, his mother said in a public statement, and we hope to have him return to his fun and lively self as soon as possible. Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes started her career by appearing in Annie and The Secret Garden, before eventually getting her own show known as The Amanda Show. Amanda's career looked promising, but things went south when she soon got her own page in the tabloids. Amanda developed a dangerous alcohol addiction, which resulted in her getting into a car accident with a police officer. Not only was Amanda arrested for the car crash, but she also faced charges of driving under the influence, too. Amanda didn't let these arrests stop her, though, and after getting out, she got into 2 more car accidents, driving with a suspended license. Amanda didn't slow down after her car troubles, and in 2013, she was arrested for illegal narcotic usage. Amanda allegedly partook in the devil's lettuce in the middle of an apartment lobby, which naturally led the staff to call the cops on her. When they arrived, Amanda returned to her apartment and even allowed the officers inside her room. Police noticed the room smelled like marijuana, and they even found a bong in the room. But before the police could inspect the bong, Amanda suddenly grabbed it and chucked it outside the window. This predictably led Amanda to be arrested for drug possession, reckless endangerment, and evidence tampering. Amanda followed her arrest with another DUI charge in 2014, as well as a stint in rehab for starting a fire in a residential area of California. Incredibly, Amanda managed to turn her life around and put an end to the constant features in tabloid articles. She committed to rehab and took up some new hobbies as well. "I'm terribly ashamed and embarrassed by the things I did and said," Amanda said in 2018. If I could turn back time, then I would, and I apologize to anyone I hurt or lied to in the past. As of 2022, Amanda remains clean and sober. Her acting career might still be ruined, but at least she seems to have gotten her life back. Amanda left her conservatorship in March 2022 and can now live the rest of her life as a free and healthy woman. Click here to see 15 actors who ruined their career in seconds. See you there.